In the fall of 1990, I had been contracted to conduct the musical Here's Love, which was written by Meredith Willson. You probably don't know it because it's pretty obscure. And this was the first time I had ever actually conducted a complete musical. And as a matter of fact, it was the very first time I had ever conducted an orchestra. And after I conducted it, apparently everybody decided that I was a conductor, and suddenly I was getting lots of calls to conduct. And I decided that one of the things I should do is probably develop some skill in conducting. And I wrote this piece specifically to accent certain points that I thought would help me develop as a conductor. And in order to compose it, I decided to rely on some earlier music that I had written. One was some music that I had written for a helicopter tour on the island of Kauai. And I'd written this music, and it was dismissed as being not good enough to use for the helicopter tour because of the fact that it was too dramatic and would scare the patrons. That is the beginning of the first movement of the piece. The beginning of the second movement of the piece was music that I had written for a cantata for the theater, which was a theater piece that was based on the life of Princess Kanyurani, and the music that I had written for a moment in the show where she is conversing with her dead mother in the garden of her residence at Ainahau in Waikiki, and it's this very, very sort of mysterious music. So I had the beginning of the first movement and the beginning of the second movement already written, and I proceeded then to fill in the rest of the piece. And it was interesting is that what came out in the piece is something that I feel is both very much of its time, in the sense that I used certain elements of minimalism that was extremely fashionable at the time, but also very old-fashioned, because the first movement actually is in something resembling sonata form, which is something that in the late 20th century was pretty much frowned upon. And I was doing that simply because that's where the music had led me. The one thing that was unusual about the piece was the fact that it's in two movements. There are very few major pieces in two movements, and I was inspired in this way by two of my favorite pieces of music. One is the Fourth Piano Concerto of Camille Saint-Saëns, which is in two movements, and the other is the Fifth Symphony of Carl Nielsen, which is an amazing piece in two movements. And what I liked about both of these pieces is how they take two symmetrical halves and then develop them in such a way that there's a huge contrast between the two. And I did much the same in this piece. I'm very, very happy to be doing it again. It's been performed a number of times, but the last time was almost 20 years ago now. I think it was actually it was more than 20 years ago. It was in 2004. And very happy to bring it back, and I hope you'll enjoy it, and I hope to see you there. That's Musical Instruments Museum, 6 p.m., January 25th.